Honorable Ministers and distinguished guests here present, a very good morning to you. I've been looking at generalities over the decades that I've been around, and I'm just going to make some generalizations too. Generally, population growth rates in southern countries are decreasing to alarming rates in some countries, while in others, rates of population growth remain at alarming high rates. The diversities of southern populations. On the other hand, most northern countries have experienced their demographic transitions and are now experiencing some of the negative consequences of low birth rates. That is, the aging populations and the inadequate labor for the production of goods and services, which include the care for the old people. It has been observed that once demographic transition, especially significant fertility decline, has started, it is irreversible. A number of northern countries have made deliberate efforts to try and reverse their declining fertility with extremely limited success, if any. They have turned to immigration as they relax their immigration policies in order to attract families of the most productive and reproductive population age group from the south. This approach is working in a number of northern countries for the following reasons. First, economies of southern countries do not provide enough employment for young people. Where there is employment, the salaries are not adequate to support the aspirations of a globalized perceiving young person. Also, young people are attracted to better living standards abroad, while there is indeed a large pool of people in this age group in southern countries. To put it bluntly, the northern countries are successfully not only importing our most productive populations, but they are importing our future fertility. My point is, southern countries must not be kept napping as populations go below replacement, because we do not have any solution that we can borrow from northern countries. We will not be able to reverse the declining fertility trends, as is the experience in northern countries. Worse still, we will not be able to attract labor from northern countries, because there will never be a pool from which to attract, given their shrinking populations. Even if such a pool would be available, it is quite doubtful that we have the attributes as countries to attract labor from the northern, given our standards of development. In the 1980s, there was funding for institutions for the establishment of population programs with the view to market contraception for the reduction of fertility. Note that while Kenya was one of the first countries in sub-Saharan Africa to have a funded family planning program, it also experienced one of the highest growth rates ever experienced in history at that particular point in time. The point is, contraception cannot be a quick fix to all those social and contextual factors that determine the need for smaller family sizes. Not attempting to resurrect Bucharest 1974 debate, I need to remind ourselves that population processes are so intricately intertwined with many other development factors which need to be taken care of. Thus, I am recommending the invigorating of funding for centers of excellence in Southern Africa, in southern countries, which would undertake country and region-specific research to determine what our population profiles as individual countries and regions will look like 30 years down the road. What the optimum fertility levels for a long-term optimum population would be, while understanding and articulating the underlying factors to demographic processes and ways to change or sustain them. Upon such research, population policies in respective countries are to be revised. I have noted that today we are in a high-level inter-ministerial meeting, together with high-level officials, subject experts, and youth leaders, deliberating on the priorities and actions to be taken towards the achievement of the ICPD agenda, which is people-centered. Unfortunately, in this conference, the center is empty. What it therefore means is that if we continue to plan, debate, and target for our people without the people, our success will be highly limited. One would argue that they don't understand or they don't articulate the issues simple and straightforwardly because we do not empower them. Allow me to make a few observations. The SDGs are lived by an individual in some days, weeks, and periods of one's life. And these individuals are our concern here today, are much more interested in their development and well-being than us. They know the problems that they live with every day of their lives. These individuals have been in existence for centuries before ICPD and all the other related programs. They, as individuals, and thus communities, have been having ways of perceiving their environments and how to maximize their livelihoods from such, rightly or wrongly. They have entrenched heritage-based systems to run their lives and solve their problems, again, rightly or wrongly. It is upon these perceptions that we should build our interventions on. An individual, in essence, is a government and its many ministries for him or herself. He or she is all in one. Thus, I am recommending that we need to look at this issue of population and development holistically, as Dr. Zulu has said earlier on, demanding a change in funding approaches that are largely vertical. Researchers need to get into communities and co-identify problems with them, co-prioritize problems, co-design interventions with targets, co-implement and evaluate the programs. This calls for a shift in researchers' mindset from a perception of communities being suppliers of information for analysis and script writing, for conference presentations and journal article publications, but as equal partners with researchers in a research process aimed at effecting a positive change in communities. Given that people's lives are not in vertical compartments, as do academic disciplines, experts need to get out of their disciplinary confines and collaborate as they get into communities where the SDGs are lived. Our interventions must not leave anyone behind. Centers of excellence aimed at training civil servants on this approach to program design and implementation can be done quickly at minimal cost, especially considering the benefits that normally accrue from such efforts. This has been partly implemented in Zimbabwe. Inherent in such people-centered approach is the sustainability of intervention outcomes, and the involvement of people expedites progress towards the attainment of the ICPD agenda. Thank you for your attention.